Hey guys, how you doing? I'm exhausted. Wow, what a week. Um, so just got back, but just got back to Australia and home after quite the time in Hawaii. It's been amazing and magical for more reasons than just the race, but we'll get to that shortly. Um, I guess the first one is that so the race was amazing. As I've said in the other videos, like I was very trepidatious about going back to the Big Island. Um, and I and a big part of it that I realized is that I thought I needed to make peace with the island, but I didn't. I actually needed to make peace with myself, and that's a big thing. Um, and that's something that was a very bit of learning for me. Was that's what I had to do, um, and that was a big thing. Um, yeah, I think it was just it was just a and that was something that really showed through for me the time I spent there, going to places that I knew very very well, um, and yeah, but it was also about making, and part of that was actually about making new memories and stuff like that. Also, it's really good to be having kitty snuggles again because I've missed my boys. Anyway, because they actually forgive me very quickly. Apparently, they did miss me. Apparently. Um, last video was sort of like the pre-race one. So race was pretty amazing. Conditions were absolutely incredibly I pretty much just perfect conditions. I'm not. I'm going to preface this by saying that actually, in some ways, I was frustrated with my result in some ways, but in other ways, I was really really happy with it. Um, so overall, it wasn't my fastest 70.3. It was sort of middle of the road, which is very frustrating. I was bucking for I was really really trying to. I really had intended and pushed for sort of sub 6.5, like 6 hours, 6 to 6.5 hours is what I wanted. So I got 650, 650 and change, which was, as I said, like, it's not my fastest, not my slowest, but still, it was. But at the same time, it's the conditions of the course and it is the skills that you have. So the day started with the swim. So it was a beautiful setup going with we actually had sort of like the conch shells, the Hawaiian national anthem, the Hawaiian state anthem was sung, and there was blowing conch shells, sort of very much a very very tribal, very spiritual sort of cultural experience coming through with that, which was really really cool. Then we were off into the water. Now, so there was a bit of things going on, obviously, with me as a diabetic. Um, it was he's very insistent about the fact that I've been away, so he wants all of the attention, don't you, darling? Um, so obviously, so me as a diabetic, obviously we have some challenges and stuff with racing, whatever. And in that way, this race is what I'm becoming used to now, and I'm apparently finding out that apparently Australian races are a bit odd like this. Is that T1 and T2 are in different locations, so I had to have my different boxes ready with all my gear in it for transition one and transition two. So I had to have spare cannulas, testing equipment, the whole lot, all ready to go. And I'd gone through with the intention of going through my same what I'd done in what I did in Port Elizabeth and what I did in Cozumel, which is basically just two boxes ready to go, and just hand them over and just have somebody just sort of pick them up on the way through. Anyway, long story short, there was this bit of a kerfuffle over it, and in the end, they've said that they want it to be kept with medical, rather than sort of having somebody meet me somewhere on the way. Which is fine, except medical is nowhere near transition. Um, and so what it was is, okay, so we started a rolling start, so 4 at a time, and that was kind of cool. Into the water, it was great. So we started off pretty well, but I Followed the wrong set of feet. I really need to work on my sighting. Followed the wrong set of feet. And yeah, that's just my fault because I was relying on feet instead of actually sighting properly. So I ended up going a bit off course, which meant that my swim was longer and slower than it should have been, which was frustrating, but you know, it is what it is. So I was out of the water slower than I wanted. But once I was out of the water, I then had to, as we were running up the beach, sort of heading towards transition, because it's a bit of a run, a bit of a hike. I had to exit the course to be able to get to medical, because medical wasn't in transition or on the path to transition. It was like in between, sort of where sort of all these bloody where all the spectators were. So it was really it was like, you know, really sort of frustrating that it's not, it was just not on the path. So anyway, so what I had to do is I had to run up the path, and you go from the water up to transition, but then I had to leave the path to go trying to get to medical. And nobody had told the volunteers that were at this sort of crossing point that would allow for people to sort of cross the path of the athletes. Nobody had told them that I was going to need to come through. So I've just bowled over this poor volunteer and about two spectators. I've just bowled through them because I'm sprinting through because I want to get up there. Anyway, so I get up to medical to fit my pump. I don't have a towel. So I'm soaking wet and trying to get the cannula and trying to like refit my pump, and I've got no towel just to dry off. And I'm like, oh. So, you know, lesson learned, you know, I need to put if my medical collection point is before transition, then, or before I can actually get to transition, before I can get to my gear bag, then I need to make sure there's a towel with my cannula set so I can actually dry off and fit it. So that was a bit concerning, and my pump is a bit rustier since then. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, there was that. So that was very frustrating, and that slowed me down a lot. Because I'd practiced those transitions and sort of reattaching the cannulas and stuff like that, and it was just, yeah, that was just not good. But anyway, it's all about adapting, and that's something again that I'm sort of very trying to teach myself, is that you adapt to the situation, and then the situation you have, you adapt to it and roll with it and see what happens. So adapted to it the best I could. Once it was refitted, then it was still wet, so I have to go back down the hill now and re-enter where I left the course at the same thing. And again, and I've just yelled out, athlete coming through, and it's gone through. I've managed to not bowl anybody over this time. But that was sort of like the lesson I sort of gave them afterwards. It was like, guys, you need to make people aware, like that this is going to happen while somebody's coming through, because this is just ridiculous. Anyway, so come through, grab my gear bag, get up to the tent. And by this point, I'm already now at least 6 minutes into transition. I'm like, yeah, okay, this is just bad timing all around here. So, okay, let's just do what we can. Got there, got up to, so sort of, okay, so just took my time a bit more, and sort of, okay, just settle yourself down. You didn't have the best swim, and now this stuff is a struggle, but just sit with it, adapt with it, and get yourself ready and get yourself set and get yourself on the bike. So I got myself on the bike and got out. It's really great. So, you know, Kat was there supporting us, and she was there at the Mount line, and that was really great to have hear her voice sort of supporting me as I go up there. Apparently, the Mount line was hilarious to watch. Apparently, there were the number of snap chains and people falling over and stuff like that. It was fascinating. So, the Mount line is on a hill going up. So you actually get pushed up the hill, like to help get you started. You've actually got volunteers that are actually there to help push you up the hill to get you started, which is, yeah, vital. And yeah, that was cool. And I actually ended up I'm very grateful that my coach got me to, like when I was first learning to ride, coach got to do a lot of one-legged drills, and he still gets me to do them from time to time now, even now. And because, yeah, I didn't clip in my second foot and quick enough, so I had it resting on it but not clipped in. So I was one one pedal climbing for this, like, because it's a long climb out of transition. So I was climbing pretty much all the way got to the main road, to the Queen K. Anyway, so starting the ride. The ride went really, really well. I was really happy with how my ride went. 3:10, and that's including a nutrition stop, including 2 nutrition stops. Sort of just resampling with sort of water and stuff like that, because I still haven't mastered the art of filling bottles and stuff on the go. So I sort of still stop and do that. But still really happy with that. I mean, I think the only issue I really had on the bike was couple of riders just not. I don't think there was any malice in it or intent in it, but just not keeping right. So of course, US road rules. So so you keep right unless overtaking. And so there's a couple of times where I was either going to overtake someone or I couldn't overtake someone because they were riding too far left. And if you overtake on the right, like that's a penalty. It's a potential disqualification. So we're very aware of that, and that was very frustrating. But again, you make the most of what you can. There was one point where there was one guy, he was all over the road, and I was starting to pass him, and then suddenly he's just out of nowhere, whether he saw me or not, I don't know. He's just come straight over. So I've had to overtake him on the inside, and literally as I've come up, I've seen the official motorbike come up, and I've just gone, oh dear, yeah, okay. Fortunately, I didn't get booked. I'm assuming obviously he probably saw the entire thing. I'm pretty sure he actually ended up booking the guy for blocking. And so I don't know if it was intentional or not, because I don't know if he was aware, because he was one of the uphills and he was struggling a bit, so I don't know if he was intentional or not, but yeah. Otherwise, the climb up to Hawai'i was just amazing. It's such a beautiful, picturesque course. You go all the way up to a Apula Point, and which is cool for me because I know the airstrip down there and the wind farm on the top of the island. And so you get to the top, you get to turn off at the airport, and you turn around and you come back. And of course, what goes up must come down. And the descent down was just so much fun. I didn't go as fast as I thought I would, actually. I was really expecting me to be able to top out sort of at about 70 k's an hour. I think in the end I only topped out about like 60 k's an hour, or less than 60 k's an hour, which I was a bit surprised at, actually. I was expecting more, but anyway. But yeah, the ride into town, sort of go through, because you sort of actually, because when you sort of come out of transition, you actually turn right, you actually head down towards the resort, which is where the run is. The golf course, you do it in there and then turn around and come back, and then you go up to Hawai'i and then you come back down. So you sort of go across some of it. You go past, you do some of the course, you do twice. But yeah, it was definitely I was pretty happy with the ride. I think I still need to work on like doing nutrition and stuff like that when I'm on the bike. I still need to work on that. So that's very much my learning. But otherwise, it's just a lot of fun. And just one of the things I often say that I started to triathlon for the wrong reasons to start, but I'm saying for the right one. And a big thing that I'm learning is that again, it's one of those little things that people sort of say, people say, you find the love in it. And you know what? I really remembered that I loved this sport when I was out there, and that was a big thing. That was just pure enjoyment, and I think part of it is the island. Like the Big Island has she has a way of talking to you. There's a woman I follow on Instagram. She summarizes it pretty well. Breezy Brown. Anyway, so coming off the bike. And then the winds were fairly calm, actually. Sort of starting to lift towards the afternoon as we were sort of coming in off the bike, but once we're out on the run, started lifting. But they're really very, very calm, so very great conditions for racing. So so coming off the bike and head out on the run, and the run was hot as expected, and very humid, extremely humid, because you're running across a golf course. It was an incredibly humid run, but absolutely just loved it, and was the issue I had, and probably something I've just glossed over a little bit, is that um, my nutrition was a little overstated on the bike. So although I had a good bike overall, I did have a bit of trouble because I overdid my nutrition. So it was actually, my blood sugars were running way too high for the bike. So when I came in off the bike, like they were sitting up around sort of 18. Um, so I'd overkilled the amount of glucose I'd mixed up for my bike nutrition. I definitely didn't need the second lot. I made sure I still took my salt tablets, which was important. I think that's probably what saved me for the rest of the race. But it's one of the things that did slow me down, is that because in the end I'm having to just grab water from that. So although I'm sort of I've got over too much glucose in my system. Unfortunately, a lot of my other, all my salts and my electrolytes, of course, are tied in with that glucose, which I'd pre-mixed. So um, I couldn't add in any more because I was already, my blood sugars were too high, and I was concerned about taking any insulin because that would crash me too low. Because that's what's happened on training rides when I've had that experience. So it's something that's sort of like, okay, see how it goes. So I had to manage that one. So when I came in off the bike, I was feeling better, but I knew I was still higher than I should have been. Um, and I double checked the readings from that I was getting off my CGM against doing a blood test when I got into T2, which by the way was a bit funny. So so I come in on the bike. And so they come in, dismount, all good, running in. And coming through, all good, and I get down, put the bike, yep, cool, no worries, park my bike on the bike number, right, go grab the run bag, yep, cool, no worries, where's my CGM? Fuck, it's still sitting on the bike. So I had to run back to the bike, grab the CGM, come back. Anyway, and then again, same thing. So because they wanted to have all my diabetic equipment had to be kept with medical, then I had to go exit transition, find medical, which admittedly this time at least it was right next to transition, but I still had to make a hole through all the spectators. There's a funny video actually from Kat actually filming me doing that. So I rechecked my sugars there, and again I was higher than I wanted, so I did take a couple of units of insulin there, and then I didn't bother using the powdered nutrition that I had ready to mix in with my water. I just grabbed my water and kept going out on the run. So, and that did slow me down on the run. So it did definitely slow me down on the run because I had to, because that's one of the things is that, people say, oh, but you got glucose, that means you got all the energy. It's like, well, actually for a diabetic, it doesn't necessarily mean that, because it actually makes you really lethargic and really thirsty. And you're struggling with dehydration enough as it is just on the event. So it doesn't bode well for you. And it's, having your blood sugars as high as mine were, because I was 15 or 16 at that point, which is definitely way too high. So I had to sort of, bring them down, but do it in a managed way. Otherwise, I was going to crash and burn for the rest of the race. So I said I didn't take anything on took a unit of insulin, like 2 units of insulin, just to sort of bring them down, but also just didn't bother with any of my powdered nutrition, which also, as I said, meant that I was going to have to run the half marathon with no electrolytes or magnesium or anything like that. It was just because it was all premixed as a powder. Anyway, so I head out on the run. I was really worried at the start because I had to call a walking break barely 2Ks into the run, but I didn't have to walk for long, and I found that I was already mentally I was actually a lot more prepared for that race than I thought I was. So I was able to get back on and start running again very shortly after that, and actually a steady state run, and I can get it done pretty well. So I was pretty happy with that, and how it went, and it just kept going. As I said, it's a fascinating course because it's very varied terrain. You go through it's on a golf course and through a golf resort. So many time is spent on the golf green. You actually run on the golf greens. Sometimes you spent running on the concrete pathways, footpaths, or the pathways the little buggies drive on. Some of it's running on the road. Like it's just fascinating sort of weird, varying terrains the whole time. There's a very infamous part that I got told about. There's a legend on the video. It was called about Hell's Kitchen, which is a strip of asphalt, like the sort of back end of the of each loop, which is an out and back section. It's about K&a-half long, so there and back. And the first time I did it, I thought, oh, this isn't too bad. Yeah, on lap 2, yeah, no, I felt it. That was a struggle on lap 2. That was a struggle on lap 2. But yeah, no, as I said, it was a good steady run for a lot of it. What was really good though is that when I was on my second lap, as I was rounding a corner and heading up a hill, I saw a very familiar tri-suit up in front of me, and it was April, and it was great, so I got to see her. It was really funny because when I called out to her, she was like, ah, and she sort of started to run back to me. I'm like, don't you dare run backwards, keep running forwards. So instead she just sort of stood there, just sort of hopping up and down, going, wee, waiting for me to catch up. So we ran together for a couple of kilometers, which was good. And then I sort of went off ahead, so I was a lap ahead of her on the run. And I sort of say this, so this is sort of a big news, but also I get to something that happens at the end of the race here shortly. So anyway, so I finished my run. As I said, it wasn't the time that I wanted, but I was still okay with that time. And again, it's all about, and this is something that a few people have drilled into me, that it's all about the conditions of the day. Now, the conditions of the day were great, but it's also about, not conditions of the day don't just mean the race conditions. It means my body conditions and how I feel and how I'm doing and all the rest of it. And diabetes can just be a bitch sometimes, and very frustrating. So, I made the most of it, and I didn't quit. I didn't give up. And it really resonated. As I said, it really sort of filled in a few things for me and made me. And I remembered that I enjoy this sport, and I enjoyed the race for just the race and just the experience. So yeah, there you go. Crossed the line, had a lot of fun. It was awesome. Now, there was another thing that this is obviously so April and I getting to spend some time together. It was great for that. So the other thing that was this is that I had some plans in mind because April and I have been together for over a year. And it was really awesome. As I wanted to do something special. So I'd been working with Ironman for a couple months, and I've been keeping something very quiet and sort of in the background, and then been laying plans with her family as well. So that when she crossed the line, I got to give her medal. But more importantly, it teed up so I got her pulled away from the finisher line to somewhere a bit quiet, a bit personal, and I asked if she would do me the privilege and honor of taking me as a husband. So it was it was planned, but also it was sort of a very exciting thing. It was nerve-wracking. I was more terrified for that hour that I was waiting after I finished to when she did, and that I was for the rest of the race. It was just, that was the most nerve-wracking, terrifying hour of my life that I was waiting. So anyway, absolutely, and yes, she did say yes. So you can see the video on my Instagram if you guys check it out, and if you want to see it. It was kind of cool. And but yeah, so thank you very much to Ironman for helping me with that. One of the hardest things was actually the ring handoff, which happened earlier in the week, because I actually had to get them to hang on to it because they held on to it during the race, so I didn't have to race with it, and I picked it up off them after I finished. I got to wait around as I got to say together. So thank you very much to Ironman for letting me give her medal, and also for letting us being part of that special proposal. So it's been pretty awesome. So yay! Now we just need to find a way to get to be on the same continent, because apparently that takes time and money and issues. But anyway, yeah, we'll deal with that in the future. So anyway, so yes, that was awesome. So I really just wanted to share that with you. So I want to share the race report with you, and also share that special ending. It really really sucked though, of course, doing that, and then, a couple of days later, we have to fly to opposite our side of the Pacific. That really sucked. And yeah, I'm just trying to hold on to the memories of those days, because it's going to be a few months before we see each other again. It's going to be, it's going to be almost 3 months before we see each other again, which sucks. But anyway, actually, I think it's been more than 3. It is over 3 months. The shit part about long distance relationships. Anyway, guys, so I'll keep doing this one. Anyway, I'm going to bed because I've been up. I stayed awake on this flight so I can go to bed. So I'm tired. I get kitty snuggles and I'm going to bed. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for all your support, and I look forward to talking to you soon and seeing you soon. All right, bye.